Change is sometimes the hardest thing to deal with. For this story to make any sense at all, we're gonna have to start back to when I was 12 years old. And you guys are just gonna have to listen to the whole story here. When I was 12, me and my buddy, we opened up my first company, which was A&M Snow Removal. And you guys might think, yeah, that's not really a company. Well, when I was 12, we had 3 accounts. We'd get up before school and we'd shovel all their driveways. It grew. And then when I was 16, I got a car. We expanded to 7 neighborhoods. We got 35 accounts. End of the season, we were doing 40 driveways before school. Then when I was 17, 18, we had about 50 accounts. And what that means is before school, we'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and we'd shovel snow. We had 4 employees at one point, and we were making a lot of money. Like, we were doing good, and it was fun. Like, I never once was like, wow, I don't want to get up in the morning to do this. I would literally jump out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and just start going. Owning that company and just doing something for myself was huge back then. I mean, I remember I'd wake up and we were doing a lot of money. We were making like $2 grand every time it snowed. So it snowed like 20 times. We made like 20 G's. Or, I mean, each made like $1 grand. So we made like 20 G's, which is good back then when I was 17. That was a good amount of money. And I took that money and I bought power poles and I bought stuff for my boat. But meanwhile, when I was 14, I got my first job. That was working as a fry cook at a hot dog stand. I made $5 an hour cash. It was fun. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had fun. I never didn't want to go to work, and I've enjoyed working. Then when I was 16, I got a job at a moving company where I worked. Wasn't a mover. I worked in their marketing department. I designed flyers. I answered the phone. I just did needless office work. I hated that. I hated going to an office. That was one thing that I learned that I hated. After that, I worked there for a year. Then my senior year of high school, I worked for my dad in construction. I worked as a superintendent at the University of Chicago. So I drove downtown every single morning, and I get up at 4. If I got up at 4:15, I'd be 2 hours late. If I got up at 4, I'd make it. That's how bad the traffic was, and I'd sit in 2.5 hours of traffic coming home. And it was work, you know. It wasn't what I enjoyed. And my dad didn't go to college. My mom went to 2-year college, and they were like, "We want you to go to college." So I'm like, okay. I visited schools, and I had a decent GPA, and I did not very good on the ACT, but I looked at Alabama, and I thought engineering was something I thought I liked, and so I went to school. I went here. I walked here every day last year. This is the engineering quad, and I'd walk here, and I'd go to class, and I'd hate it. I'd think, especially gen eds, and I took some engineering classes my freshman year, and the problem was, I suck at, when it comes to learning, if I don't think I can apply that to the real world, I don't try and learn it. I don't study it because I don't think it's real. Like, learning how to do I remember calculus, these like imaginary numbers. I remember learning, like, how am I going to apply this to the real world? And that first semester at school, I was like, wow, college sucks. Like, I'm getting taught a bunch of stuff that I'm not going to use. And I thought it was because I didn't want to do engineering. So I dropped engineering and I went into business. Meanwhile, I was sitting in my dorm room, Riverside East. Every day I'd sit in that dorm. I'd come here. I lived close to the strip, which was where everybody went out at night, and the fraternity row was right over there. And I had fun. I mean, I had the college experience my freshman year. I mean, I went to the University of Alabama, which was not the number one, but it's a top school to have fun at. So I sat in my dorm. That I remember the beginning of my second semester. I was trying to think about what I wanted to start up next. Like, I started up a snow company. I started up a landscaping company too. That was unsuccessful, but besides that, I worked all those jobs, and I was like, what is next? I remember when that idea came to me. I was fishing, and my co-angler, I remember I'd fish in some guys' boats. I'd fish in my own boat when I was here fishing for college fishing. And I remember I never had a backpack that I liked. Well, it came to me out in the water, and then I get back to the dorm room and I said, how am I gonna fix this problem? I remember my friends asked me if I wanted to go out that Friday night, and I said no. I'm gonna stay inside, and I'm I'm gonna come up with this idea. I'm gonna develop it. And that idea came with those backpacks. I was like, I want to develop a fishing backpack. So I sat down and I started drawing it up. And that week I started calling people like, hey, can you make this for me? I started calling up backpack manufacturers. I started calling up companies. I called so many people, sent so many emails, and I couldn't catch a break. So then I called my dad, and he got me an interview with, or not an interview, a meeting with some dude that made some shirts for him. And he's like, yeah, man, I can make this for you. And I was like, all right. So you guys probably saw the backpack in the Never Stop tour. It was shown briefly, and it's not done yet. It's been a year now. It's gonna be done, and I think in 2 weeks it's gonna be for sale. It's crazy how an idea can take a year to develop, and just the patience has to be there. That's not what this video is about, though. I mean, it was just something clicked in my head then, and I started to not pay attention to school and started to be like, what's the next thing? How am I gonna sell these things? And I started to look at marketing, and I remember John was like, hey man, I'm dropping out of school. I'm like, you're dropping out of school? And he's like, yeah man, I got a job with Mystery Tackle Box. I'm doing this YouTube thing. And I'm like, are you nuts, dude? You have like a semester left, because John was doing the 2-year program and he was a year ahead of me. He's like, dude, I want to follow my dreams. I'm like, you're freaking nuts, man. And he's like, ah, whatever. And I started to fish with John some more, and John and I have been friends since we were in high school, as you guys know. And I've always had a YouTube channel. And I made some videos, and I started to grow. I went from like 3,000. I had a viral video in November of last year, and it was Walmart Fishing Challenge. And it got like 250,000 views, and I gained like 4,000 subs. I had like 1,000, gained 4,000. I had like 5,000 at the beginning of the year this year. I was like, wow, maybe there's something here. And I told my roommates, I'm like, I'm gonna have 50,000 subs by the end of this year. And they go, all right, dude, you're nuts. So I started filming in the spring, and I was like, I was starting to get a little bit of results. And then I started to watch daily vloggers and how fast they were growing. So I said, hey, Mom, I'm not getting a job this summer. And she goes, what do you mean you're not getting a job? I said, no, I'm not getting a job, Mom. And I remember I bought a camera. I bought a 70D, and it was like $1,500 with the mic and everything. And I had like no money. I started vlogging, and I remember the first trip, I went to Gunnersville, and then I went on a Michigan trip with Chris. And those videos didn't get a lot of views. They got like 10,000 views. And my mom was like, you're nuts, you have to get a job. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna try this. So I kept doing it, and then I started to gain 1,000 subs a day, 1,500 subs a day. That wind was making me mad. And I started to grow, and I started to make money, and I got my first check. I started to get really involved. I started to look up how to increase ads, how to increase my channel, how to increase my watch time. I started just working, and I started trying to get better. I got better at Final Cut. I got better at editing. I got a drone. I just started to try, and I focused on YouTube. And it was great. That summer I made some money. My mom was like, wow, maybe there's something here. And then school started back up, and I was like, hey, I'm just gonna vlog at school, and I'm just gonna do this. Then I remember, like, John's like, hey, you going on this trip? I'm like, yeah, sure. I've got 2 tests, but yeah, sure, I'll go on this trip. And I didn't want to miss out on stuff because of school. I put this around school because I was in business school, and there's something about business school that they don't teach you, is that what they teach you is nothing to do with the real world. I've never learned one thing in business school that I've applied to do this. I now own 3 companies. One company I own personally, my media company that does all my YouTube stuff and does all my agreements and stuff like that. I own another company with John and a couple of those guys. I also own a percentage of Favorite Fishing. I figured out that by reading stuff, I'm legally supposed to tell you guys, because I do promote some of the rods in my videos. And I started to just expand and grow, and I'm like, this is business. This is what I like. Like, people are asking me for marketing advice now, and I'm like, and you go to school and they tell you, well, if peanut butter goes up, then jelly, there's not going to be a demand for jelly because nobody's going to want to buy peanut butter. It's not that simple. It doesn't work like that. And I remember taking a test, and I bombed it. I got a 60% on that test. And it was, I wanted to ask, I wanted to tell the professor, I wanted to say, what have you ever done in business? I feel like when it comes to school, I think school is good. You got to become a doctor. You've got to learn things. But when it comes to teaching somebody how to run a business, I don't think you could do it. You have to do it. There's some stuff you have to learn by doing, and that's just how I learn. So yeah, I'm here right now. Obviously, you guys could tell last week I was stressed out. It didn't really have to do with the whole, yes, I'm dropping out of school, if you guys didn't know where this video was going. But it didn't really have to do with that. I had a lot on my mind. I mean, I don't like to quit. I believe in stuff. When I believe in something, I don't quit. In relationships, business, everything. If I don't believe in it, it's easy for me to walk away from something. Right now, my mind is not here. It's not at the University of Alabama. In 2 years, hey, I could re-enroll, and I'll just be 2 years set back. I won't be 2 years set back. I'll have learned more from doing this than I will than any other college graduate here, and I'll stand behind that business-wise. I mean, I'm not going to be a surgeon. I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm not going to be an engineer. I'm not going to build the next building, but who knows where this will take me. I've got my backpack's coming out in 2 weeks. I've got this YouTube going on, developing rods, a whole bunch of stuff that's just crazy to think about. Yeah, I burn myself out all the time. You guys can tell by the videos. My videos are raw. My videos are what my life is about. I don't edit anything. I am a dingus sometimes. I'm an idiot. But sometimes I do make good financial decisions. Sometimes I don't make good financial decisions. Sometimes I throw my rod and have a fit. I'm 19 years old. I mean, there's a lot of growing up I still have to do, but I think it takes, if you know when you're wrong and you know that you can improve, that's what you've got to learn from something like this. Or something like that I did. All that set aside, tomorrow is always a new day. Anybody that's feeling down, you never know what's going to happen. I remember I went to school. My life completely changed in 2016. Like, I didn't know I was going to pick up a camera. I didn't know I was going to learn how to edit. I didn't know I was going to open up a media company, work with this rod company, do whatever. You know, you just never know. So if you're feeling down, you just broke up with your girlfriend, you just got dumped, you just failed your exam, you're a D student in high school, who cares? Maybe you'll do good things in college. Maybe you'll find that right person when you're 25. You never know, you know? Like, there's always tomorrow. There's always positives to look out on life. I appreciate all the comments about what you guys said on that one video. It was 2 in the morning. I was pretty tired, and I rewatched that video. I probably wasn't that sad, but I just had a lot on my mind. I'm happy now. I got some rest. I'm going to end this video here. I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning to go back to Chicago. And I'm pretty excited. I'm going to do some ice fishing, some hunting. Me and my buddy are going up to Minnesota. If any of you guys live up in Minnesota and want to fish with me, I'm going to actually go out with some subscribers in Minnesota to do some ice fishing. So I've got 2 snowmobiles that me and my buddy are bringing up there with the ice shack. So send me an email to my email below. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. Yep, I'm dropping out of school. Who knows if I'll ever make it back. Who knows what my life will be, but 2017 is going to be YouTube, quality videos. I'm learning how to do Premiere right now. It's going to be fun. I ordered a new drone, and who knows what's going to happen. That's what I like. You don't know what's going to happen in life, but if you get up every morning and you work your hardest, good things are going to happen, as they say. We'll catch you guys next time on AP Bassin. Follow your dreams. Don't quit college just for no reason. College is good. Just not for everybody. Thank you guys so much.